Hello, everybody. This is Dan Meister of Meister Meetings and Travel, coming to you at this morning with a travel tip. Now, behind me is the beautiful Denali Park in Alaska. That's Mount McKinley, the highest point in North America. Behind me, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. I wanted to come to you live this afternoon. Things are starting to change. The world is reopening. The curve has flattened a little bit. So hopefully, with everybody's done a great job on sheltering in place, travel is starting to open up a little bit. Now, different parts of the U.S. in different countries were affected differently. Some not as bad, some pretty bad. So things will start to open up in phases. Brighter days are ahead. Commerce seas are on the horizon. Now, it's not going to be immediate, okay? Don't get me wrong. It's not gangbusters. It's going to be a phased, slow approach. Air travel in the U.S. domestically will start to open up bit by bit. It's at historical lows. Everything's at historical lows on travel. Occupancy levels in hotels. There's thousands of hotels that are closed right now, and the ones that are open are just in single-digit occupancy. That's going to start to rise, hopefully, and get in the low 20s and 30% bractile by this fall. Restaurants are starting to open as well. Social distancing is going to be a big part of the new travel. We're going to keep you informed and prepared and advise you on how travel is going to be. The new normal is going to be different than what it has been. Think about 9/11 and what travel was before that. No one had ever heard about the Transportation Safety Administration. Now that pretty much runs everything that we do. You know, going into a ballpark, going into the airport, any type of travel. Who'd have thought you could not bring your laptop, or you'd have to get that scanned, or your phone, or you couldn't bring a bottle of water on board the plane, or you had to take your belt off or your shoes. Part of the new norm. We'll have some new norm going on. Rest assured, things that you will need are lots of masks. So if you find a good mask supplier, grab them all. You're going to need those wherever you go, whatever you do. So travel will start to open up later this summer. A phased approach, not all at once, for those that want to venture out. For now, we're going to update. We've had a lot of questions on our social media. I just want to answer those all together, make it a little bit easier here instead of individually with this video. And then next week, we're working on a new presentation on the new normal in travel. So stay tuned for that, and we'll send that out for you. We'll have that on our Facebook page. We'll also, if you'd like to sign up subscribe to our newsletter, we'll have that on there as well. Okay, so some of the questions that we've been getting here are, this is basically on the cruise industry right now, and how everything's going to start to open up. Domestic air travel will start to open. Lodging is open right now. We expect more people to start really drive instead of flying, but eventually, as they feel safer, they'll start to fly. Cruise line industry right now is not open, okay? It's not going to open up until the CDC, Center for Disease Control, says that cruising is safe. And just like every other industry or where there's a gathering of people right now, it's not safe. We don't have the testing in place, the safety protocols. So right now, everything is about the end of June, okay, the suspension of cruise operations. Most of the cruise lines are there right now. Some a little bit late or have pushed it a little bit farther. Some of the cruise lines are only till early June right now, but I imagine they're all going to start to move that back out farther. Again, they're all waiting on the health officials from the World Health Organization, from the CDC, and cruising, as you know, is international. So it's not just the U.S. that has to be open. There's other ports of call. We need Canada, we need the Caribbean, we need Europe, Australia. I mean, they cruise around the world. So depending on your itinerary that you're interested in, they all need to be open. The ports need to be open. They need to be operating safely. Fortunately, when cruising does open, it's actually pretty safe. They have a lot of protocols actually that you'll hear about already on board, with hand washing. They have their own medical facilities on board. Those will be amped up a lot. But we'll get into that a little bit later on. I imagine when cruising does open up, though, you'll see some of the itineraries will definitely be changing based on what the hotspots are for COVID-19. But you'll be going to some of the private islands. These are in the Caribbean out here. A lot of them are in the Bahamas because they don't have restrictions from other countries of going in ports on those. So those you'll see a lot. Probably some of the Caribbean ports will start to open up as well. And hopefully some of our Canada ports up there for Alaska, and hopefully some of the fall foliage cruises. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But right now, Everything is suspended until around June 30th. Those that are not out there yet, I imagine that they will push that out there, and then it's still wait and see. Everybody's waiting on the Center for Disease Control. So we'll keep you appraised of all that. We monitor it daily. If you have some specific questions, just reach out to us right now. Okay, next question is, oh, what about the Alaska cruise season? Okay, so sadly, that's why we're looking at Alaska right here, our ode to the 49th state. Alaska cruise season, okay, that takes place from April every year to September. It's beautiful up there. So there's summer. It's fantastic. The land of the midnight sun. Never gets dark up there. It's 18 hours of daylight. So sadly, Holland America and Princess Cruise Lines, the two biggest players in all of Alaska, they canceled their entire 2020 cruise tour season up there. So what's a cruise tour? That's when you combine a 7-night cruise, either going from Vancouver to Anchorage or Anchorage down to Vancouver, along with a 3 to 6 or 5 night land vacation package, okay? And usually what they're doing is they're going up to see Denali National Park, where Mount McKinley is. That gets you up in the interior of Alaska. So the regular cruise goes through the Inner Passage, which is gorgeous, but if you want to see the heartland of Alaska, you do a cruise tour up there. And they're very popular due to the immensity, the size of Alaska, the distances involved in travel. The cruise lines really have that down up there. So with Princess, they own their own beautiful wilderness lodges. They own their own private rail cars that go on the Alaskan Railway. They own their own motor coaches. So they seamlessly take you from all the points. They have canceled their entire season right now of cruise tours. It's simply just too much to get everything organized and open, and still they don't know what the opening date is. So sadly, if you had a Princess, a Holland America cruise tour, it's canceled. You can use those future cruise credits towards 2021. I do want to let you know that we also have moved our cruise tour for Alaska to 2021 as well. We have a cruise tour for July of next year. It's also a cruise only in Alaska. It's fantastic. Beverages are always included. You're welcome to join us. It's always a lot of fun with a lot of extras in there. We'll guide you all the way. You can find that cruise on our webpage, www.meistermeetings.com, if you're interested. Reach out with any questions. So Alaska right now, if anybody's going to be sailing, it's going to be round trip from Seattle. And where you fly into Seattle, board the ship, you go up into the Inner Passage, you come back into Seattle for a 1-week cruise. Still beautiful cruise. You're just not getting into the heartland of Alaska. Now, some of the other cruise operators have not canceled their cruise tour season, so we'll see what happens. They're just not as big as Holland America and Princess. So we'll see how this plays out. If you have some specific questions on that, just reach out and we'll keep you posted as we hear more information. But sadly, some of the cruise tours with the big boys, ships and operators are canceled right now for 2020. Okay, question number 3. What happens if my cruise is canceled? So your cruise is canceled. You had a cruise for this May. It got canceled. You have 2 options, okay? Number 1, you don't need to do anything. The cruise line's automatically going to issue you a future cruise credit or future cruise certificate called an FCC, good for the value of a cruise fare. And they may add some percentages on there or some onboard credit when you rebook. They want you to rebook. And you'll get that refunded. You can take a voucher will be sent to you, and you can make it as you don't have to make a decision until about a year. You got about a year to make a decision, and you have about 2 years till 2022 to use that future cruise credit or FCC. You will get rebated back the monies that you paid for port charges, taxes, any onboard gratuities, onboard purchases that you may have made. They'll get that back to your original form of payment. So you should be set on that. Otherwise, if your cruise was canceled, you are entitled to 100% rebate of the monies paid back to your original form of payment. If you also paid for hotel and air through the cruise line, they can take care of that for you as well. Make sure they do. If you booked your air or hotel through a travel agent, talk to them. They should be your warrior advocate, your voice out there representing you. They should be able to cancel that with the airline. You may get a voucher for future travel from the airline instead of a future automatic rebate. Depends if they cancel that or not. And the hotel, you should be able to get your money back on that as well. Okay, so if your cruise got canceled, you are entitled to a full rebate, or you can get a future credit on that. That's the same goes for a lot of the tours. If you had a tour booked, airline flights, if they are canceling them and you're in that range of dates, you get a full refund and you get, or future travel certificate, you pick it, okay? Any questions on that, just reach out. Question on this, can I cancel a future cruise, this could also be a future airline flight, and get my money back? Right now, no, unless it's in that date range that the hotel, that the cruise line or the airlines have canceled. So you have to go on the webpage. On our webpage at meistermeetings.com, we have a whole dedicated section to coronavirus. Has most of the major cruise lines, airlines, hotels, tour operators, and all their links right to their travel advisory. So it gets updated all the time. Every cruise line, every airline's a little bit differently. You can get the updates there. But if they had not canceled your trip, okay, I know Carnival's late on canceling a lot of things right now, and you want your money back, you may have to wait a little bit on this until they actually cancel that. Now, there's some strategies involved in that too. If you owe some final payments on there, let's say that you have some non-refundable deposits that you have paid, and they want your payments coming up for full payment in a week for a cruise in late June or early July that they have not canceled yet. Strategy on that is see if you can extend your final payment, okay? And that buys you a little time if you want your money back. All right, so reach out if you have some specific questions on it. There are some strategies. We've been pretty good in getting actually 100% and getting all our clients refunds back to them that they do want. All right, so that's the answer to that question. Oh, number 5, what about cruise restrictions for passengers 70 and over fit to travel? So some of the cruise lines came out, and this is actually before they even suspended cruise operations. They wanted to make travel safe on cruise lines. Remember, the Princess Cruises had some big issues with everybody getting sick over in Japan and Asia. This is before they closed the cruise industry and sailings. And the Cruise Lines International, the cruise industry came out with some new safety standards saying if you're over 70 and over, we want to have a doctor's note saying that you have no chronic illness, that you're fit to travel. So some of the cruise lines right now on their web pages say that they are still going to demand this when they go back to cruising, but it's not industry-wide right now. So in my opinion, they're going to come out and everybody's going to want to be on the same page on that. So we'll see what happens. No one wants to do that. None of the cruise lines, they want everybody to enjoy a wonderful vacation, but that's still up in the air right now. And so if it does continue, when cruising does open up, we're going to closely monitor that for you. If you have some questions on that, let us know as well. On the other side of that, these future cruise credits, these FCCs, that's like the new Bitcoin in the travel industry. And we've never had a shutdown of travel across the world globally. So there's billions of dollars of future travel certificates out there. It's almost like the timeshare craziness. So right now, you may be able to transfer these. Some of these cruise lines are allowing you to transfer that future cruise credit to somebody else. Maybe they buy that from you. Maybe it's a gift. Let's see how all that works. But there's some options out there. So let's see how all this works. There's strategies involved as well. If you have some specific questions, just reach out. This is look for that one that's going to evolve and evolve. It's going to be interesting. There's billions of dollars out there in future travel certificates, not just with the cruise lines, with the tour operators, with the hotels possibly, but also definitely with the airlines. All right, so take a look at on that then. There will be new protocols when you do go on board a ship, hotel. They're going to be thermal scanning you, asking you a lot of health and screenings, where you've been, if you have been in touch with anybody with COVID-19 and caring for them. So there going to be a lot of new standards on that. Let's put it that way. Also, no more buffets. We'll talk about this in a future podcast. Okay. Travel insurance. If I bought that, well, I get it back. So if your trip was canceled and you bought the travel insurance from the airline or the cruise line or the cruise operator, and you're getting your money back, yes, you're going to get the travel insurance back to your form of payment as well. If you bought the travel insurance through a third party, and there's great third-party travel providers, they generally are giving you a voucher goods towards another trip right now, okay? So check with your insurance carrier and check their webpage and see what the updates are on that as well. Also, back to the cruises, if you want to cancel the cruise, go on their webpages. They have some forms out there. They make it pretty easy to either get a future cruise credit or get your money back if it's canceled, all right? So that's another tip. Where are cruise ships again? Where are the ships in the cruise? So great question. The ships are all believe it or not, little fact, the last cruise ship arrived with passengers this week. Everybody's safe. They got off board, but they've been traveling around the world cruise. Finally got back. It was a European cruise line. Everybody's finally off. So right now, there's no passengers on any major cruise line. They're all docked. They're all anchored. They're waiting for everybody. Now, the staff or the crew is on board. There's some essential crew. They need to be on board the ship. The rest of the crew had the option of if they wanted to fly home, they could, if they could get home. The cruise line was helping them get home. If they didn't want to be on home, they are on the cruise ships. The cruise ships are strategically placed for itineraries when cruising opens up. So Florida cruises, some are down in ports of Miami. A lot of them are over in just anchored off in the Bahamas. And the crew is on board and they're cross-trained, they're sanitizing, cleaning the ships. I don't think there's a lot of major renovations going on, but the ships will be in great shape. No one's using them. They're clean. The staff is also cross-training as well. So they'll be ready to serve you. And some of the crew is even staying in some of the guest quarters because they're practicing self-distancing on board on that. So hope that answers that one. Thanks for asking about the crew and all that. So that's all the questions for now. Again, we are putting together a presentation on what to expect on the new normal. Lots of interesting things that will come up on all this. If you have some specific questions, just reach out on our Facebook page or give me a call anytime, email me. Or check also our meistermeetings.com if you want to subscribe to our newsletter. Sorry that my phone is starting to blow up here with some messages. If you want to go to our webpage and sign up for our newsletter, that's great. We'd love to have you. There'll be a lot of interesting things we'll be sharing on that as well. So for now, stay safe, stay healthy. If you can get outside as the world starts to reopen, please do. I know I plan to get out and get some fresh air. And we'll talk about changes as they start to happen. So we'll keep you posted. Thanks for being part of the community and Together in Travel, and we'll see you down the road. Thank you. Bye-bye now.